मनु कल आएगा, कल अपलोड कर देगा. ही इज आउट ऑफ स्टेशन राइट. Biomes, environment, printed notes. So what is the correct answer for this? The tropical corals, unlike deep water corals, are in symbiotic association with zooxanthellae, right? Cold water corals occur only along the continental shelf. No, they can occur along the continental shelf as well as the deep seas. Now, second question, I'll dictate the question. ज़रूरी नहीं, कॉन्टिनेंटल शेल्फ पे कोल्ड वाटर कोरल्स भी है एंड वो चाहे सिम्बायोटिक एसोसिएशन में नहीं है फिर भी कॉन्टिनेंटल शेल्फ अपने पीपीटी में लिखा है ये स्पेसिफिकली. पीपीटी मनु आने के बाद मिलेगा, कल आएगा मनु. सेकंड क्वेश्चन, El Nino, first statement, El Nino is a phenomena that occurs in tropical Pacific and Indian Ocean. El Nino is a phenomena that occurs in tropical Pacific and Indian Ocean. And second statement, during El Nino, the winds flow from west to east in Pacific Ocean. And third statement, west to east in Pacific Ocean. Third statement, El Nino causes heavy rainfall in Australia but droughts in Indian Peninsula. Identify correct statement. What is the first statement? मैं भी भूल गया. So first statement is true. El Nino is a phenomena that occurs in tropical Pacific and Indian Ocean. True है या false है? False है. It does not occur in the Indian Ocean. This is your past year question. ऐसा ही. Tropical. That is considered as an tropical only. Tropical, subtropical दोनों के words कभी-कभी mix हो जाते हैं. So Indian Ocean नहीं है. During El Nino, winds flow from west to east in Pacific Ocean. True or false? Yes, from Australia to South America. El Nino causes heavy rainfall in Australia but droughts in India. False. So the answer is correct is 2 only. Correct is 2 only. वैसे तो टेक्निकली होना चाहिए सब ट्रॉपिकल, बट बहुत बार लेमैन लैंग्वेज में ट्रॉपिकल एंड सब ट्रॉपिकल दोनों मिक्स हो जाता है. जैसे इंडिया सब ट्रॉपिकल कंट्री भी है, ट्रॉपिकल भी है, पर इंडिया को कहेंगे ट्रॉपिकल नेशन. तो ट्रॉपिकल एंड सब ट्रॉपिकल मेनी टाइम्स इज यूज्ड एक्सेप्ट इन द विंड सिस्टम. फाइन. दोनों. बट जब हम फाइनलाइज करते हैं तो वी कंसिडर्ड इज एज इंडिया एज एन ट्रॉपिकल कंट्री. ये क्वेश्चन भी है इंडियन ज्योग्राफी में. फाइन. नेक्स्ट थर्ड क्वेश्चन. फर्स्ट, कोरल्स. डोंट ट्राई, टेल मी जस्ट ट्रू और फॉल्स. इतना बहुत सिंपल पूछ रहा हूं. Corals form the base of marine food chain. True or false? Second, due to climate change and ocean acidification, there is a threat of coral bleaching. क्यों? Ocean acidification क्यों? वो dissolve हो जाएंगे. And climate change क्यों? Because climate change and ocean acidification both are correlated. Third, corals have greater biodiversity than tropical rainforests. False. Corals have greater variety of animals than the tropical rainforest. True. Fine with this? Next question, फिर से पूछ रहा हूँ आपको, because आज climate we'll finish with oceans today. So the one more question, that is oceanography में से जो भी है NCERT से also you can go through. North and south equatorial currents are primarily caused due to rotation of the earth on its axis. North and south equatorial current is primarily caused due to rotation of earth on its axis. कौन से डायरेक्शन में है नॉर्थ एंड साउथ? जस्ट इमेजिन करो, ईस्ट टू वेस्ट. अर्थ इज रोटेटिंग फ्रॉम वेस्ट टू ईस्ट, इसलिए विंड स्टार्ट फ्लोइंग फ्रॉम ईस्ट टू वेस्ट, विच टेक्स द surface water as equatorial current. So north and south equatorial current is primarily caused due to the rotation of the earth. Understanding? You already know counter current is caused due to the convergence of north and south equatorial current. Fine. A third statement, Norwegian current is an extension of an Gulf Stream. True or false? Norwegian current is an extension of Gulf Stream. True or false? True. Gulf Stream नॉर्थ अटलांटिक ड्रिफ्ट और नॉर्थ अटलांटिक ड्रिफ्ट का ही एक पार्ट है नॉर्वेजियन करंट. गेटिंग इट? फाइन विद दिस? वन मोर स्टेटमेंट. अ स्पेशल गायर in the North Atlantic is formed due to topographical features of Atlantic mid-oceanic ridge. स्पेशल गायर मतलब क्या है? सार्गासो सी वाला रीजन इज फॉर्म ड्यू टू द हाइट ऑफ द मिड ओशियनिक रिज. उसको क्रॉस नहीं कर सकते, इसलिए दे गेट इट द ओशन सर्कुलेट्स, पानी वहीं सर्कुलेट होता है, एंड एज अ रिजल्ट ऑफ दिस हम कहते हैं बर्मुडा ट्रायंगल, सार्गासो सी. बट कोई भी सर्कुलेटरी मोशन को इट इज नोन एज एन नॉर्थ अटलांटिक गायर और इट इज नोन एज एन गायर. गायर मतलब सर्कुलेटरी मोशन. फाइन विद दिस? So now we come to the, I guess I have completed the yesterday's topic. अल नीनो यहाँ से यहाँ तक, ईस्ट कंसिडर करेंगे। पैसिफिक ओशन का क्या है? वर्ल्ड का नहीं, ओशंस का कंसिडर करना। What topic I was doing yesterday? Salinity and coral. So we have finished that. Yes. Wrong statement है, दोनों जगह ड्रॉट्स है। अल नीनो के समय दोनों जगह ड्रॉट्स है। हाँ, लिखा है हमने, अल नीनो causes heavy rainfall in South America, but drought in Australia. अभी क्या है 2019? El Nino year. It has been declared yesterday that this will be one of the strongest El Nino years. मतलब faced for the drought-like conditions. So government, देखो हमें पता चल जाता है in January whether India is going to face the drought-like conditions or not. और ये इतना frequently क्यों हो रहा है, जो 7-8 साल के बाद होना चाहिए था. This is the impact of global warming. Melting of ice caps and glaciers. As a result of this, ocean water is becoming cooler, and therefore the capacity to retain the heat of oceans is decreasing, and hence monsoon, which is based on heating and evaporation, is decreasing. Understanding the melting of Arctic and Antarctic, जो आज हम करेंगे, India's interest in the Arctic region. क्योंकि पानी कोल्ड हो जाएगा, पानी कोल्ड हो गया तो हीट ही नहीं रहेगा पानी में. There will be melting, mixture of cold water, more amount of cold water will come, and thus the tropical waters will become colder. कौन सा दे दूंगा टेस्ट में. Waves versus tide. What is a wave? What is your idea of wave? Can I say rise and fall of sea water is waves? And then what is tide? Can I say rise and fall of sea water? Both are periodic in nature. Some periodic matlab regular, but difference is rise and fall of sea water due to frictional force of winds is waves, and this is the rise and fall of sea water due to gravitational force of sun and moon. But more importantly, moon. Can you tell me why more importantly moon? Because gravitational force is inversely proportional to distance. Jitna farther the object is, utna weaker is the attractional or the gravitational force. And sun is the farthest celestial body. Moon is nearer to us, and therefore the gravitational force of moon is more than the sun. Now we'll start first with waves, because tides because waves are not that important. Waves पे एक ही क्वेश्चन आएगा जितना एनसीईआरटी में दिया है, एंड उतना ही मैं आपको लिखाऊंगा, बट इन अ सिंपल लैंग्वेज. So what do you mean by tides? Rise and fall of sea water due to the sun and the moon, gravitational force of sun and the moon. Sometimes tides are also caused due to other planets also, but we do not take them into importance. Now when we consider the tides, there are something words that are associated. One is high tide, one is low tide, or ebb. Low tide or ebb, मतलब पानी जब पीछे जाएगा. The third is tidal range. third is the tidal range. So what is an high tide? When the water level increases and comes towards the coast, that is what is known as an high tide. When the water level decreases and goes away from the coast in the deep sea, that is known as an low tide or ebb. And the difference between the high tide and the low tide is known as an tidal range, जो हम फिर से environment ecology में करेंगे, because it may come under the CRZ notification 1, CRZ 1, that is जितने भी acts है, Environment Protection Acts, Biodiversity Act, etc. So high tide is the rise of a sea water, low tide is the fall of a sea water. High tide में the waves, the water, sea water comes towards the coast, and low tide में the sea water goes away from the coast. The difference between the high tide and the low tide, water level, high tide में कितना water level है? For example, if this is a coast, and if this is the water level during the high tide, and this is the water level during the low tide, this difference is what is known as an tidal range. अब simple law समझो of any waves, tides or tsunami. All the three are the movement of the ocean water, but तीनों का reason is different. One is due to winds, one is due to gravitational force, and the tsunamis are due to tectonic activities, seismic activities. Fine? Now, the law of waves is, or the law of tides is regarding the height only, not regarding the length. Regarding the height, that unka height will increase if the water becomes shallow. When the continental shelf is greater, the height will increase. So tsunami is a shallow water waves. Sometimes we call them as a shallow water waves. मतलब tsunami अगर होता है तो उसका impact, even if you are staying in the boat and you are living in the area, that is आपकी boat उधर है जहाँ से tsunami is being generated, you will not feel anything. But the coastal regions will face the consequences, because the height of the tsunami increases as it approaches the coast, क्योंकि उसका speed decreases, and the law of conservation of energy says that energy needs to be conserved. So अगर speed decrease हुआ तो that energy is given in the form of height. Similarly, the height of the waves or the height of the tides increase if there is a shallow region. So as a result of this, apply this to India and tell me which state in India will have highest tidal range. Which state in India has widest continental shelf? Gujarat. Which part in India has Gulf of Kutch or the Gulf of Khambat, a narrow region? Gulf of Khambat, because it is to the open sea. So tidal energy potential is highest in which state of India? Gujarat. उसमें भी कौन सा? Gulf of Kutch or Gulf of Khambat? Gulf of Khambat has the highest tidal energy potential. So इसलिए tidal power plant is located in the Gulf of Kutch also, and the tidal power plant NCERT में भी दिया है, वो भी याद करना है, which is located in West Bengal. एक तो normal West Bengal अभी तक पूछा नहीं है UPSC ने, but Gujarat is their favorite question, which has in the recent years come in the year 2016. That is, the tidal energy is the highest potential of tidal energy is in which? Option was Gulf of Kutch, the other option was Gulf of Cambay. So वहाँ पे भी there were silly mistakes. I know a student of mine. Gulf of Cambay and Gulf of Khambat एक है, पता नहीं था, मार्क करके आया जल्दी जल्दी में Gulf of Kutch, and sometimes luck is so bad he in his last attempt he missed by 0.33 marks. In prelims, he could not clear the mains. 3 साल से he was trying for IAS. Already he is in IRS. Last attempt में he could not clear the prelims. One silly mistake. And जब 2 optional का ज़माना था तो उसका optional था एक geography, दूसरा public administration. So these are the silly mistakes which you should not do. So but खत्म. फिर उसका जो सपना था IAS बनने का, that gone. आज तो UPSC ने इतना recommend किया है that the person who fills the form should be considered as an attempt. Don't worry, government इतना जल्दी decision नहीं लेगा. This is India. So you can take down. अरे नया डस्टर दे देना, नया डस्टर. So high tide Tide ka definition is the same what we have written here. I am not dictating. Fine. High tide. The rise of sea water and its movement towards the coast its movement towards the coast is known as an high tide. Its movement towards the coast is known as an high tide. While the fall of sea water and the fall of sea water and its movement away from the coast, is known as low tide. Third, the difference between high tide water level and the low tide water level is known as tidal range. Highest tidal range, the highest tidal range in the world, is in Bay of Fundy. Canada. Bay of Fundy, Canada. We have already seen Newfoundland region, Grand Banks. वही region के नीचे है Bay of Fundy. The Bay of Fundy, Canada. While the highest tidal range in India is the Gulf of Khambat or the Gulf of Cambay. Next, sometimes during the high tides, which occur along with the heavy rainfall, what sea water enters the mouth of a rivers, sea water enters the narrow mouth of a rivers, causing flooding, full stop. This phenomena of wall of a sea water rushing upstream is known as tidal bore. High tide है और flood already है, तो flood का levels will increase. Example this year Kerala floods. High tide का दिन flood का level और ज़्यादा बढ़ गया, because during the high tide sometimes, especially in the estuaries where the river mouth is very, very narrow, water comes with great speed and it pushes the river water behind and enters the cities, enters the coastal regions. This phenomena is known as tidal bore. Tidal bore is common. कभी-कभी flooding भी नहीं होता due to tidal bore, but it has of a great economic importance. For example, ports large ships can enter Kolkata port only when there is an high tide and the tidal bore is there. Otherwise, Kolkata port is not accessible to big ships. We'll write this in the importance of tides. Now, why are the tides caused? Or how it is the mechanism of the tides? हाई टाइड में पानी एस्चुरी के अंदर नहीं जाएगा, हाई टाइड कहीं पे भी हो सकती है, बट फॉर एग्जाम्पल इफ द माउथ इज वेरी नैरो, देन व्हेन द हाई टाइड एंटर्स द रिवर, पुशिंग द रिवर बिहाइंड, दैट इज व्हाट इज नोन एज एन टाइडल पोर. नाउ अंडरस्टैंड द मैकेनिज्म. ये थोड़ा टेक्निकल है. यस, मैनग्रोव सर्वाइव कर रहे थे ऐसे. दिस इज अर्थ. Our earth is surrounded by hydrosphere. This is the water body which is surrounding our earth. And यहाँ पे, for example, there is moon. Is the earth rotating? Yes. So what happens, suppose if this is our condition, earth and the moon, because we will take only moon as of now, sun को हम बाद में लेके आएंगे. The side which faces the moon on the earth, this is the nearest part, and as a result each and everything on the earth is attracted towards the moon, each and everything, including rocks, including human beings, because of the huge high gravitational force of the moon. But rocks cannot move, human beings are इतना ज़्यादा भी gravitational force नहीं कि will be lifted upwards, and therefore only water is lifted upwards, and water forms a bulge, and this bulge is what is known as an high tide. The water is maximum displaced. हम सब attract होते हैं. You have seen some of your friends, or you know some of the people who behave very differently during Amavasya and Purnima. Why is that so? Because that is the time when the high tide का effects are strongest, and each and everything is attracted. So हमारे यहाँ पे जो fluid है, हमारे यहाँ पे जो हमारे body के अंदर जो chemicals है, that too are attracted towards the sun and the moon, especially towards the moon. And therefore some people who cannot, then are not that mentally strong, maybe they start behaving differently during the Amavasya and Purnima. That reason is simple, but सबसे ज़्यादा displacement occurs of the water, and as a result of this, the side which is facing the moon experiences bulge, and I am taking this side as in side A will experiences a high tide. Why it experiences high tide? Due to the gravitational force of the moon. Now earth is rotating, moon is revolving. On this rotating earth, the side A will again come under the moon after the gap of 12 hours. So हर place में high tide should occur after the gap of 12 hours, but this is not the case because our earth is rotating. And when any object is rotating, gravitational force is always counterbalanced by centrifugal force. On the rotating object, gravitational force is always counterbalanced by the centrifugal force. याद रखना, merry-go-round, when the merry-go-round is going, you can stand there without the fear of falling, because एक जगह gravitational force is putting and दूसरे जगह the centrifugal force is pulling, and as a result of this you are balanced. But जैसे ही merry-go-round रुकने लग जाता है तो only gravitational force is there, centrifugal force गायब हो जाता है, and हमें गिरने का डर होता है. Last में we fall down. Secondly, therefore washing machines, कोई भी washing machine, gravitational force towards the center, कपड़ों को खींचते हैं towards the center, centrifugal force कपड़ों को फेंकते हैं away from the center, इसके कारण the clothes are washed. Similarly the earth is rotating, and therefore ये सब science के लिए याद रखना, washing machine किस principle पे apply होता है, both centrifugal force and the gravitational force. Similarly when the earth is rotating, the gravitational force is being counterbalanced by a centrifugal force which acts in opposite direction. Each and every force has an equal and opposite reaction, and as a result of this, there is, if this is the point A, there will be another tidal bulge equal and opposite to the tidal bulge at point A, and therefore if our place is point B, this is also going to experience an high tide simultaneously at the same time, but this high tide will be caused due to centrifugal force. पानी का लेवल उतना ही है, and therefore from our reference point, point C and point D, the water will be pulled in different directions, and therefore the places which are perpendicular to moon are going to experience low tide. So this is how the tides are formed. Tides are formed due to the gravitational force and due to the centrifugal force. Gravitational force below the point which is nearest to the moon, and centrifugal force exactly opposite point, and therefore at a time there will be two high tides and two low tides anywhere in the world. Point A and point B are experiencing high tide, point C and point D are experiencing low tides. Fine with this, everyone? वैसे I am asking you one very GK based question, वो एग्जाम में तो नहीं आएगा. Which is more dangerous, high tide or low tide? If you are a coastal person, you will avoid going during the high tide or during the low tide. क्यों? High, if you are a tourist, वहाँ पे देखा होगा कि वहाँ पे लिखा रहता है today is a high tide, don't come into the sea, because the sea का level suddenly increases. But local जो है, locals will always avoid going into the sea during the low tide, because the sea will pull you inside during the low tide. High tide में अगर डूब भी गए तो बाहर फेंका जाएगा. You will be thrown on the, so low tide is more dangerous because you will be pulled inside the sea. And so understanding, if there is an, you are standing here and if there is a low tide, क्या होगा? The water is going away from that region and therefore there will be pulled inside the sea. And during the high tide, you will be coming. This is the fact used by fishermen. Fishermen go out into the deep sea during the low tide and come back home during the high tide. Understanding this? So take down the mechanism of tides. And I'll draw a better diagram. The tides, जब हम सिर्फ tides की बात करते हैं, generally means high tide, are caused due to the gravitational force of both sun and moon, the moon. But as moon is nearer to the earth, the gravitational force of the moon is more important. The gravitational force of the moon is more important than the gravitational force of the sun. A place which is below the moon, experiences tidal bulge, as the water is displaced, due to the gravitational pull of the moon. Causing tides at point A in the diagram, causing tides at point A in the diagram. ये ऐसे लिख सकते हो एग्जाम में, but you will have to obviously make a diagram, point A in the diagram. और डायग्राम ऐसे समय बिफोर यू स्टार्ट राइटिंग द आंसर, ऐसे नहीं कि पहले सब लिखोगे जैसे आप यहाँ के टेस्ट में लिखते हो और एंड में डायग्राम बनाते हो. पॉइंट ए इन द डायग्राम. एग्जामिनर इज नॉट गोइंग टू सर्च योर डायग्राम कौन से पेज पे. On the rotating earth, next point, on the rotating earth, the gravitational force is counterbalanced by equal and opposite centrifugal force. Is counterbalanced by equal and opposite centrifugal force. Equal and opposite centrifugal force, which acts at the point farthest away from the moon. लिखो, जल्दी लिखने की आदत लगाओ. At a point farthest away from the moon, which acts at a place farthest away from the moon. Farthest away from the moon, causing bulge at point B, causing bulge at point B, farthest, causing bulge at point B, creating high tides, creating high tide. Thus, two high tides are created at the same time. Two high tides are created at the same time. Next point. The water levels from point C and D. The water levels from point C and D. Point C and D are pulled away. Creating low tides. Next point. अब understand, moon will go from east to west or west to east. मून कैसे जाता है? मून मतलब क्या कहते हो? यू आर सेइंग अर्थ इज सेटिंग या सन इज राइजिंग? सो व्हाट, मून कैसे जाता है? ईस्ट टू वेस्ट. सो जैसे मून जाएगा, कैन यू रियलाइज वन थिंग, द टाइडल सेंटर, इसको हम कहेंगे टाइडल सेंटर, विल स्टार्ट शिफ्टिंग. इफ द मून इज हियर, द टाइडल सेंटर विल बी हियर. इफ द मून इज हियर, द टाइडल सेंटर विल बी हियर. अब यहाँ पे जब मून आएगा तो हाई टाइड एंड हाई टाइड, एंड द पॉइंट ए एंड बी विल एक्सपीरियंस low tides. Fine. The tidal center shifts along with the moon. क्या rotation or revolution? Revolution of the moon. The tidal center will shift along with the revolution of the moon. Rotation is along its axis. Now understand one thing, time difference between the two tides. So moon rotates around itself and earth also rotates. अब suppose हमें अभी moon दिख रहा है, हमें कितने, हम if we are below the moon, we are at point A. How much time will take Earth to complete one rotation? 24 hours, right? So if we are standing at point A, after one complete rotation, will come under the moon after 24 hours. So can I say the high tide at each and every place should occur at a time difference of 24 hours? Yeah, 12 hours. फिर से I am repeating the question. Earth, we see only one side of the moon, right? We do not see the other dark side of the moon. We see only one side of the moon क्योंकि हमारा rotation and the moon ka rotation and revolution is matched in such a way that we see only one side of the moon. Now suppose if this is the moon and if the earth is rotating and we are at point 1, after one complete rotation, हमें high tide experience हो रहा है. After one complete rotation, after 24 hours again we are coming below the moon. फिर से high tide होगा. So the time interval between two high tides कितना है? 24 hours या 12 hours? 12 hours. Understanding this? क्योंकि point A हमें high tide experience होगा because we are below the moon. After that we'll come to point B. After 12 hours we'll come to point B. फिर से we are going to experience high tide. Then फिर से. So the time difference between the two high tides should be, don't write anything, should be 12 hours. That means the time difference between one high tide and one low tide should be 12 divided by 2, 6 hours. Getting it, everyone? 12 hours is the time difference between high tides. So exactly half, 6 hours. But that is not the case. That is not the case. Tides are always delayed from one place by 26 minutes. By 26 minutes. Understand, ये भी थोड़ा technical है. Understand why. Suppose now this is our moon and this is the earth. Moon is also revolving. It is going to complete one revolution in the period, in the कितना time period में? Revolution around the earth. Around the earth. One month or 27 days? 27 days. So forget about revolution. Moon जा रहा है आगे, and suppose if we are at this point, we are now doing one complete rotation. और हमें अगर high tide चाहिए, we want high tide, we should come under the moon. So after completing one rotation, if this is where we are standing, we complete one rotation, we experience high tide here also, and we come under the point where पहले moon था, but moon थोड़ा आगे चला गया. Why? Because moon is also revolving, and therefore we are not below the moon after 24 hours. To complete this distance, that is from here to come again under the moon, extra time of 52 minutes is taken. Extra time of 52 minutes is taken. Getting it, everyone? But high tides are not just caused because of moon, it is also caused due to centrifugal force. Therefore, can I say the tide at each and every place will be not delayed by 24 hours 52 minutes, but by 52 minutes but by 52 divided by 2, क्योंकि centrifugal force तो exactly half इसमें act कर रहा है, and therefore tide at each and every place is delayed by 26 minutes. Means if a place has experienced high tide at 6 a.m., the next high tide will be at 12:26 p.m. 6:26 p.m. High tide will occur after the gap of 12 hours 26 minutes. So 6 बजे सुबह अगर high tide है तो next high tide is going to cause at कितने 12 घंटे बाद कितना 6:26 p.m. not 12:26 p.m. ये तो 6 घंटे का गैप हो गया सिर्फ. Understanding? These are the questions which come in the exam. A place A experiences high tide at XYZ, the next high tide will occur at what time? Or the next low tide will occur at what time? So अगर question है next low tide, a place experiences high tide at 6 a.m. The next low tide will be 12 hour 26 minutes के बाद हर high tide आएगी. So but low tide के लिए divided by 2. So 6 hours 13 minutes. So 12:13 a.m. 12:13 p.m. What is the answer? 6 a.m. के बाद कब होगी नेक्स्ट लो टाइड? खुद को अगर ये AM PM नहीं समझ में आ रहा है एग्जाम में, खुद को हिंदी में पूछो, आपको थोड़ी आंसर देना है ओरली. दोपहर में होगी 6 घंटे बाद. सो 12:13 PM. डिवाइड बाय 2 करो. High tide should cause if only gravitational force is responsible after every 24 hours 52 minutes. But high tide will not be caused due to gravitational force also. Exactly opposite end पे high tide होगा. So अगर हम यहाँ पे high tide we are going to experience, moon आया ऐसे, we are going to experience next high tide when the moon will be here due to centrifugal force acting there. We are going to experience third high tide when the moon is back here, but after the gap of 24 hours 52 minutes, not 24 hours. 24 hours 52 minutes because the tide center मतलब जहाँ जिसके the moon जिसके exactly ऊपर है वो थोड़ा पीछे रह जाता है and it has to cover that extra distance in 52 minutes. Understanding everyone? So, but that is not the case. We have to also remember that we are going to experience high tide even due to centrifugal force. So when the moon is here at point B, that means 24 hours 52 minutes divided by 2. Moon is covering exactly the half distance. So every high tide will be delayed by 12 hours 26 minutes. Getting it? Everyone? Everyone here in the class? Yes, exactly. Celestial objects have their own speed, inertia. Yes. रॉकेट वो सब नहीं, वो तो हम नेचुरल सैटेलाइट्स और आर्टिफिशियल सैटेलाइट्स को कैसे कंपेयर कर सकते हैं? वो तो हम एग्जैक्टली जियो स्टेशनरी ऑर्बिट में डालते हैं. रॉकेट्स किसके लिए है? इफ द रॉकेट इज फॉर कम्युनिकेशन, इट विल बी एग्जैक्टली ऑन द टॉप ऑफ इंडिया, एंड जैसे इंडिया रोटेट करेगा उसी स्पीड से वो रोटेट करेगा. यू कैन गिव इट, एंड इफ इट इज फॉर प्लानिंग, इफ इट इज फॉर resource management, it is put in the sun synchronous orbit. There are two orbits, geostationary orbit above the equator, the other is the sun synchronous orbit which goes from one pole to another. So that is used for disaster management, not for communication. Communication के लिए geostationary orbit. And Indian National Navigation Satellite System in the polar orbit. Fine with this? So you can take down. फिर से डाउट है, वो डाउट्स विल बी क्लियर्ड. Thus, the high tides are caused. That the high tides are caused when a tidal center is exactly below the moon, and the tidal center is exactly below the moon due to gravitational force. Due to gravitational force. And when the tidal center is farthest away from the moon. Getting it? Farthest away यही point है, point B, और कोई point नहीं हो सकता. Earth is not straight. And the tidal center is farthest away from the moon due to centrifugal force. Due to centrifugal force. Ideally, the tide should occur at an interval of 12 hours. 12 hours. अगर confusion है बाद में आने वाला है तो just write in the bracket 24 divided by 2. Getting it? Because after 12 hours, where will the moon come? Here. After 24 hours, moon will come here. So we are going to experience this for after every 12 hours. But a high tide is delayed by क्या 12 hours 26 minutes या सिर्फ 26 minutes? Delayed by 26 minutes. Is delayed by 26 minutes. And therefore, the next high tide occurs after the gap of after the gap of 12 hours 26 minutes. 12 hours 26 minutes. Understand this mechanism. We are going to write this, why the tide is delayed. They can ask you this also in the examination. Examine why the tides are delayed at a place. So, a point A will experience an high tide, when it is just below the, when it is exactly below the moon. When it is exactly below the moon. When it is exactly below the moon. As the earth rotates around itself, and moon also revolves around the earth, So when the point A comes back to its original position, the moon has shifted to a new position, Moon has shifted to a new position. Imagine this in 3 dimension. Moon revolve नहीं कर रहा है. Moon revolve कर रहा है not in this manner. ऐसे जा रहा है. Understanding? So you have to imagine in 3 dimension here. पहले moon was at X position. Now after complete rotation of the earth, when the point A comes back, moon X position पे नहीं है. कौन से position पे है? It is at the position Y. मतलब when the moon is coming, when the point A is coming, moon has gone ahead. So as a result of this, the point A has to cover an extra distance of 52 minutes to come below the new position, that is the position Y. Getting it? So यही हमें लिखना है. डायग्राम थोड़ी देर बाद में बनाना. 13 PM, 12:13 PM. I'll give you a common diagram for that. So for now, point A to experience high tide, you can continue writing this. For now, point A to experience high tide, it has to travel an extra distance. It has to travel an extra distance to come under the moon. To come under the moon, which takes 25 minutes. Which takes 25 minutes. And therefore, 26 minutes. Sorry, which takes 52 minutes, not 25 minutes. Which takes 52 minutes. And therefore, high tides at every place are generally delayed by 26 minutes. By 26 minutes. Confusion है तो फिर से लिखना 24 hours 52 minutes divided by 2 is 12 hours 26 minutes. इसको डायरेक्ट कैलकुलेटर में डाल के मत करना. It will take 2452. Okay? 24 hours divided by 2, 12 hours. 52 minutes divided by 2, 26 minutes. Fine? While the time gap between the high tide and the low tide is 6 hours 13 minutes. 6 hours 13 minutes. Now you can draw this complete diagram. It will be very easy for you to answer any of the question. सिर्फ ये याद रखना 6 घंटे 13 मिनट 6 घंटे 13 मिनट between low tide and high tide. Between high tides 6 hours 13 minutes into 2 12 hours 26 minutes. This will be the kind of questions only. Mathematical based questions अगर आप बोल सकते हो इसको mathematics तो. So what will be the answer for question number 1? 6:13 AM PM. AM सुबह के 6 बजे. Understanding? Place A experiences high tide. यहाँ पे क्या पूछा है? Ebb. At 12 AM, the next high tide will occur at 12:26 PM, दोपहर के 12 बजे, रात के बाद दोपहर के 12 बजे. So AM and PM, be very careful about it. हाँ, AM PM में ही कंफ्यूजन होगा, उसी में कंफ्यूजन होता है एग्जाम में. क्यों होता है? क्योंकि जल्दी जल्दी में, वैसे नॉर्मली होगा नहीं, बट देयर यू आर अंडर स्ट्रेस. Can I continue? Can I rub this part? नहीं, पुल करेगा पर इतना इफेक्टिव नहीं होगा. नहीं नहीं, एग्जैक्ट नहीं, जनरली लिखा है हमने. देयर आर मेनी प्लेसेस इन द वर्ल्ड विच विल एक्सपीरियंस 6 times द टाइड. जब सन ट्रॉपिक ऑफ कैंसर पे है तो हमारे यहाँ पे ज़्यादा हाई टाइड्स की इंटेंसिटी ज़्यादा होती है. कैन आई रब दिस पार्ट? अब सपोज दिस इज आवर मून. The moon is going around the earth, right, in a circular path or in an elliptical path? In an elliptical path. So when it is going around the earth in an elliptical path, there will come sometimes when the sun, moon and the earth are in same line, but the sun, moon and the earth are in same line in such a way that moon is located between the sun and the earth. Getting it? Which is this day? न्यू मून डे, अमावस्या और फुल मून डे, पूर्णिमा. Moon, does it have original source of light? No. So the sunlight is falling only on the part of the moon which we cannot see. Therefore हमें लगता है this side of the moon is dark, and this is what is the new moon day, that is अमावस्या. On other hand, when the moon is exactly at the opposite part, then the sun's light is falling on the moon on the part which we see, and we call this as full moon day. That is the Purnima. Getting it? So this position, understand here, this position when the sun, moon and the earth are in the same line is what is, ये NCERT में नहीं है but questions बहुत है past year में, is known as SY, ZY, GY, CZ. What is this CZ? CZ is when the sun, moon and the earth are in same line. It occurs twice in a month, once on the new moon day and the other time on the full moon day. Getting it? And during this time, the moon's gravitational pull and the sun's gravitational pull act in the same direction, and as a result, the height of the high tides is greater than the height of the normal high tides. जितनी normal high tide की height है, उससे 25% the height of the high tides increase. Why? Because the sun and the moon are attracting in the same manner, and these tides are known as the spring tides. Spring tides can be formed in the position of conjunction or in the position of opposition. But हमें scientific terms याद नहीं रखनी है. You should just remember that spring tide can form here or the spring tide can form even here, even if this is the case. Why? Because moon का gravitational force प्लस सन का सेंट्रीफ्यूगल फोर्स, मून का सेंट्रीफ्यूगल फोर्स प्लस सन का gravitational force. The total energy is same, total attractional value is same. So these tides are known as spring tides, which occurs twice in a month, and this spring tides are generally occurring on the new moon day and the full moon day. That is generally occurring on the new moon day and the full moon day. That is what is known as the spring tide. So the types of tides, सबसे पहले spring tide. सन का ग्रेविटेशनल पुल तो रहेगा ही, सन इतना बड़ा सेलेस्टियल ऑब्जेक्ट है, सन का ग्रेविटेशनल पुल क्यों नहीं होगा? कौन से इसमें? इन दिस पोजीशन मून का ग्रेविटेशनल फोर्स प्लस सन का ग्रेविटेशनल फोर्स, गेटिंग इट? इस पोजीशन में जब मून है तो मून इधर नहीं है, और इस साइड में है तो सन का सेंट्रीफ्यूगल फोर्स, मून का ग्रेविटेशनल फोर्स. So when the sun, moon and the earth, इस साल CZ is very important क्योंकि the strongest earthquake occurred on the day when there was a CZ. दिल्ली में भी ट्रेमर्स फील हुए थे, एंड CZ फिर से वैगनर्स के सपोर्टर्स ने कहा देखो earthquakes are also caused due to the tidal force of sun and moon, जो वैगनर ने उस टाइम कहा था, क्योंकि इस साल तीनों जो earthquake हुए हैं they are occurred due to either on the day of अमावस्या or on the day of पूर्णिमा. Secondly, blue moon, super moon, red moon, ये सब occurs along the when the CZ is there. Thirdly, eclipse, whether it is the solar eclipse or the lunar eclipse, it also occurs when there is a CZ. So during these days, the height of the waves and height of the tides is greater, not waves, height of the tides is greater. Understanding? And we will call them as the spring tide. So we had an unfortunate incident this year in one of the peninsular states where 42 girls of an engineering college went into the sea on the day of a spring tide, and unfortunately all of them drowned and died. When the authorities asked them not to go, spring tide के समय generally avoid the sea because the height of the tide is 25% greater than the normal tide. Getting it? So इसीलिए you should know what is this position of CZ, especially because of the geographical phenomena. ये जो अभी सुनामी भी आया था, it is occurring during the day of CZ. Getting it? So you can take down types of the tide. Spring tide. When the sun, moon and the earth, when the sun, moon and the earth are in the same line, this position is referred as CZ. This position is referred as CZ. During CZ, SY, ZY, GY, the sun's and the moon's gravitational force combine. The sun's and the moon's gravitational force combine, and therefore the height of the tides, what I said, agar sirf tides hai, generally it means high tides. The height of the tides is 25% greater, than the normal high tides, Such tides are known as spring tides. कितने बार होंगे महीने में? After the gap of 15 days, right? This occur twice in a month. On the full moon and the new moon day. You can draw this diagram. sun, moon and the earth in the straight line. That is CZ. You want to make this diagram? मून जियो स्टेशनरी में एकदम प्रॉपर नहीं, क्योंकि अर्थ का टिल्टिंग और रिवोल्यूशन ये होगा, बट प्रॉपर तो नहीं हो सकता बिकॉज इट इज़ अ नेचुरल सैटेलाइट। सिर्फ आर्टिफिशियल सैटेलाइट्स को हम प्लेस कर सकते हैं, मून को हम प्लेस नहीं कर सकते। तो ऐसा नहीं है, मून प्रॉपर जियो स्टेशनरी पे नहीं, क्योंकि कभी कभी मून कम्स ओवर द ट्रॉपिक ऑफ कैंसर लाइक सन, एंड कभी कभी इट कम्स ओवर द ट्रॉपिक ऑफ कैप्रिकॉर्न, बट geostationary in the sense it goes from around the equator, not around the poles. मून के साथ नहीं, his doubt was कि ऐसे घूमता है या ऐसे घूमता है। वो बिग बैंग थियरी, संतोष सर। सो inertia है, that is when the big bang theory occurred, there is so much force कि आज भी हम घूम रहे हैं उसमें। It's all relative। ये अगर आपको किसी ने धक्का दे दिया, इतना जोर से धक्का दिया है कि आज भी आप घूम रहे हो over the period of time. That is what happened when the big bang occurred. Fine, can I continue? Neap tides. Neap tides. It occurs when the sun, moon and the earth, the sun, moon and the earth are perpendicular to each other. Sun, moon and the earth are perpendicular to each other. Sun, moon and the earth are perpendicular to each other. So this is the position. When the sun, it can be this position or it can be this position. Sun, moon and the earth are perpendicular. जब भी आपको चांद आधा दिखता है, half moon is visible, that is the neap tide. क्या होता है इस समय? Who is more responsible for the tides? Moon. But also sun is somewhat responsible. So moon's gravitational force is acting in one direction. Sun's gravitational force is acting in another direction. The gravitational forces cut each other, and इसलिए the height of the tides decreases by 20 to 25% as compared to the normal tides, and we will call this as neap tides. After 7 days, 7.5 days, 15 दिन बाद, so महीने में ये 2 बार, इन दोनों के बीच का गैप है 15 days, इन दोनों के बीच का गैप है 7 days. Understanding? So neap tides. When the sun, moon occurs when the sun, moon and earth are perpendicular to each other, this position is known as the position of quadrature. This position is known as the position of quadrature. During this period, the sun and moon's gravitational force tend to counteract one another. And hence the height of the tides, matlab height of the tides is 25% lesser than the height of the normal high tide. Is 25% lesser than the height of normal high tides. lesser than height of normal high tides, known as neap tides, known as neap tides. Normal high tide, जितना भी normal high tide है, तो normal high tide can be when sun, moon and the earth are in not in exactly opposite, किसी भी इसमें spring tide, quadrature, बाकी सब जगह normal high tide because due to moon. Fine. अब some GK based question. You can draw the diagrams. Understood this two types of tides? दो और type of tide है, but before that some. So moon when it is going in the elliptical orbit, can I say this can be an elliptical orbit? Right? This can also be an elliptical orbit. This can also be an elliptical orbit. This can also be an elliptical orbit. ऐसे ही तो जाता है moon. This is how atoms also go around the molecules. Basic forces, basic law of nature are same. How atom goes around the molecule, in that way moon goes around the earth and earth goes around the sun and sun goes around the Milky Way. इसलिए they say philosophy में कि जो बाहर है वही अंदर है, मतलब भगवान के बारे में. Now you understand one simple thing. If the moon is at this position, there can be two consequences of it. एक तो sun का light is falling on the earth and therefore earth का shadow is falling on the moon. And as a result of this, if moon is very, very nearer to us, it will be known as lunar eclipse. So this position, when the moon, it can be anywhere nearer. ऐसा नहीं कि थोड़ा इधर भी हो सकता है. So lunar eclipse हमेशा occurs on new moon day और full moon day. Full moon day. Understanding this? और बहुत logical है. अमावस्या के दिन चांद दिखता नहीं है, so eclipse हुआ नहीं हुआ आपको कैसे पता चलेगा? It is the पूर्णिमा के दिन when the चांद दिखता है और दिखना चाहिए, but it is not, you cannot see it, then you will call this as a lunar eclipse. So lunar eclipse is associated with CZ and full moon day. Understanding this? Can I continue? Second thing, अगर eclipse हुआ नहीं due to some, because the earth का shadow is not falling, moon, but moon is very, very nearer to the earth, what you will call this position as? Apogee or perigee? क्या है? Apogee. When the moon is very, very nearer to us, it is known as apogee. When the moon is farthest away from us, it is known as perigee. वैसे ही when the earth is very near to the sun, it is aphelion. When the earth is very far away from the sun, it is perihelion. Now in this position, suppose if there is no lunar eclipse occurring, because एक angle होना चाहिए by which the shadow is falling, then you will see moon as a very bright, very big, and you will call this position, this as supermoon. Understanding? So supermoon occurs during apogee and the CZ. So you should remember all these things कि supermoon कब होगा. अब depending upon where you are located on the earth, whether you are located exactly here, whether you are located exactly here, you will be looking through the layers of the atmosphere. And because you are looking, light will bend, refraction होगा, and due to refraction you may look at different colors at the moon. So इस साल USA में दिखा red moon, इंडोनेशिया में दिखा blue moon, etc. Colors इतना ज़्यादा matter नहीं करता. What matters is the position. Fine. So you can take down one statement. I'm sorry. When the moon is nearest to the earth, when the moon is nearest to the earth, मैं भी इसमें कंफ्यूज होता हूँ. This position is known as perigee. This position is known as perigee. Moon is nearest to the earth. This position is known as perigee. No, I'm sorry for that. It is perigee. It is perigee. You have to understand here, perigee can occur here, perigee can occur here also. Getting it? अगर मून का ऑर्बिट ऐसा है तो नहीं होता, किसी भी सेलेस्टियल बॉडी का फिक्स्ड ऑर्बिट नहीं होता. अगर किसी भी सेलेस्टियल बॉडी का फिक्स्ड ऑर्बिट होता तो इंडिया मंगलयान मिशन कभी कर नहीं सकता. यू शुड रिमेंबर दैट. मंगलयान मिशन इज लेस कॉस्टलियर देन many of the Hollywood movies also. उससे भी कम कॉस्ट है, because we have made sure that we have fixed apogee and the perigee of Mars and the Earth. That is after every 12 and a half years to 26 years. ऐसे होता है कि अर्थ का ऑर्बिट एंड मार्स का ऑर्बिट कम वेरी नियरर टू ईच अदर, otherwise they are very far away. So what did Indian scientists do? What does USA does? कि this is Mars, this is Earth, send a मंगलयान और मार्स पे कोई भी ऑर्बिटर मिशन, जैसे इनसाइड भी गया है अभी, with so much power that it will cross the Earth का orbit and then it will enter the Earth Mars का orbit and then you can settle it. But so much power requires heavy boosters. It requires large amount of energy which is going to cost. So Earth ने क्या किया? Earth ने एक एक्सेलरेशन देके उस सैटेलाइट मंगलयान मिशन को अर्थ के ऑर्बिट में डाला. एंड एक्सेलरेशन का काउंट ऐसे किया था, द एक्सेलरेशन वाज फिक्स्ड एट सच डे दैट इट विल कम नियरर टू द मार्स का ऑर्बिट आफ्टर सम स्पेसिफिक टाइम पीरियड. वो एक्सेलरेशन हैड टू बी काउंटेड वेरी प्रॉपरली. सो व्हेन द अर्थ एंड मार्स का ऑर्बिट केम नियरर, इंडियन साइंटिस्ट ने यहाँ से मशीन शुरू की और एंड इट वेंट इनटू द मार्स का ऑर्बिट एंड देन मार्स के ऑर्बिट में जाके वो फिर से घूमने लग गया. इसलिए इट हैज़ कॉस्ट less than Avatar movie, it has cost less than Gravity movie of, and therefore the Western scientists, Western peoples चुप रह गए थे. They did not have any answer कि इंडिया ने ये ऐसे अचीव कैसे किया, क्योंकि उनके हाँ रिस्की था कि अगर कैलकुलेशन मिस्टेक होता तो नेक्स्ट चांस आता 26 साल बाद. And it was a very risky business. Understanding this? So this is how. Why? Because एक बार ऑर्बिट में पुट हो गया तो it has its own acceleration. So यहाँ पे हमें एनर्जी लगी नहीं. But they had properly calculated कि exactly when they will come near each other, and when it came near each other, they pushed it into the Mars orbit. So is known as perigee. Supermoon occurs on the perigee. Supermoon occurs on the perigee on full moon day. On full moon day. On full moon day. That is when Earth is between Sun and Moon. Earth is between Sun and Moon. Due to refraction of light, due to the refraction of light, due to the refraction of light, moon is seen in different shades. Moon is seen in different shades. And therefore known by different names, blue moon, red moon, etc. बस इतना ही करना, बड़े बड़े आर्टिकल्स मत पढ़ना उसके ऊपर. अंडरस्टैंडिंग दिस, व्हाट इज अ ब्लू मून, व्हाट इज अ, क्या क्वेश्चन हो सकता है ड्यूरिंग द ब्लू मून और रेड मून, हाइट ऑफ द टाइड्स इज ग्रेटर, होगा कि नहीं होगा? यस, दैट इज स्प्रिंग टाइड. गेटिंग इट? सो अप्लाइड सोचो थोड़ा, इट विल रिड्यूस योर वर्कलोड. अदरवाइज इफ यू सर्च ब्लू मून, रेड मून, देयर आर न्यूमरस आर्टिकल्स ऑन द इंटरनेट. दैट इज नॉट रिक्वायर्ड. सिमिलरली अंडरस्टैंड हियर, if the moon ka orbit is such, Amavasya, right? Plus, moon is so nearer to us, it will block the view of sun, and therefore, this is the position of eclipse. So, solar eclipse कब होता है? I am not dictating. During perigee and new moon day. अब डिपेंड करता है आप कहाँ पे रहते हो. इफ यू आर हियर, टोटल सोलर एक्लिप्स. इफ यू आर हियर, पार्शियल सोलर एक्लिप्स. इसलिए सोलर एक्लिप्स इज नॉट सेम ऑल ओवर द वर्ल्ड. कभी कभी से सिर्फ हाफ ऑफ द सन इज सीन, कभी कभी एंटायर सन इज नॉट सीन, कभी कभी ओनली द आउटर पार्ट करोना इज सीन. अगर आपको याद रखना है तो बना लो. एट ए टाइम कैसे होगा? सोलर एक्लिप्स एंड लूनर एक्लिप्स एक दिन में थोड़ी होता है, सालों के बाद होते हैं. सोलर एक्लिप्स तो बहुत बहुत सालों बाद होता है. इंडिया में इस साल था सोलर एक्लिप्स, आफ्टर आई गेस सम 7 or 8 years. सो टोटल सोलर एक्लिप्स तो आई रिमेंबर जब मैं फर्स्ट ईयर इंजीनियरिंग में था, उसके बाद इंडिया में हुआ ही नहीं. लॉन्ग बैक. Yes, कोई भी हाई एक्सेलरेशन वाली ऑब्जेक्ट विल नेवर. यू सी एन एग्जांपल ऑफ एटम्स मूविंग. किसी भी एक पाथ में नहीं जा रहा, फिक्स्ड ऑर्बिट है, नॉट अराउंड दिस, इट विल कीप ऑन मूविंग. आई विल शो यू एन एनिमेशन आफ्टरवर्ड्स. ब्लड मून यहाँ पे. ब्लड मून कब होता है? जब व्हेन देयर इज अ सुपर मून. इसलिए डायग्राम बनाओ, नहीं तो भूल जाओगे अप्रैल में जून तक. हाँ, एक्सपांडिंग यूनिवर्स की बात कर रहा हूँ. हाँ, हम मान के चलते हैं ऑर्बिट फिक्स्ड. ऑर्बिट फिक्स्ड नहीं है. दैट वाज द मिस्टेक ऑफ आइंस्टाइन. ही इनिशियली थॉट दैट ऑर्बिट इज फिक्स्ड, देन ही लेटर करेक्टेड, नो, ऑर्बिट इज, यूनिवर्स इज एक्सपांडिंग, एंड इट केम इन दिस ईयर्स पेपर. व्हाट वर द कंसिडरेशंस ऑफ थियरी ऑफ रिलेटिविटी. यस, फिक्स नहीं. नहीं, मिल्की वे कैसे क्रॉस करेगा? सोलर सिस्टम कैसे? सन की ग्रेविटेशनल पुल है. फाइन विद दिस. नेक्स्ट, डायूर्नल टाइड्स. थर्ड टाइप ऑफ टाइड्स. Apogee is not important. I wanted to explain you this phenomena, that is why perigee is important. Diurnal tides. Diurnal matlab daily tides. These are the normal tides. Diurnal tides, these are daily tides which occur due to, these are daily tides which occur due to daily movement of sun, daily movement of the moon, daily movement of the moon after a gap of 6 hours 13 minutes. मतलब जो नॉर्मल टाइड्स है उसको हम क्या कहते हैं? डायूर्नल टाइड्स. 6 hours 13 minutes. अब one more technical point you remember for prelims. Take it in the bracket. On 3rd January, क्या होता है on 3rd January? आने वाले दिन. आज, अच्छा, January, I'm sorry. So, on 3rd January, When the earth is closest to the sun, earth is closest to the sun, on 3rd January, when earth is closest to the sun, perihelion, that is known as perihelion. So इसीलिए याद रखना, summers are, earth is closest to the sun and sun is over where? Southern hemisphere. So southern summers are very very extreme. इसलिए अर्जेंटीना में, ऑस्ट्रेलिया में, at many places natural forest fires are there because earth is closest to the sun. So ज़्यादा heat होती है. Earth is closest to the sun, in the bracket perihelion. Unusually high and low tides occur. Unusually high and low tides occur. Why? Sun का gravitational pull. Fine. And the tidal range is also very high. Tidal range is also very high. Tidal range is also very high. Next, during aphelion. Aphelion means when the sun is farthest away from the earth. During aphelion, ये हमने insolation में भी किया है. During aphelion, कब होता है? 4th of July. 4th of July. Tidal range is much lesser as compared to the perihelion. Tidal range is much lesser as compared to the perihelion. Tidal range is much lesser as compared to perihelion. Getting it? So इसीलिए northern summers are less intense because जब हमारा summer season होता है we are farthest away from sun. Southern winters are very intense because जब उनका winter season होता है they are farthest away from the sun. So what is the significance of tides or importance of tides? Importance हमारे लिए importance के what? Energy और tidal bore. उससे क्या होता है tidal bore? Navigation. Can you give me an example of the ports? Or can I say most of the ports on east coast except Vishakhapatnam. So सबसे importance, that is significance, properly लिखना. Significance in navigation, significance in food resources, significance in energy. So first we'll write about the significance in navigation. Significance in navigation. High tides help in navigation, help in navigation, allowing large ocean vessels, to enter the harbors, In fact, some of the ports are navigable to large ships only during the high tide. Navigable to large ships only during the high tide. Example, London port. On which river? Thames. एग्जाम्पल हमारा कोलकाता पोर्ट, ऑन विच रिवर? हुगली. हुगली इज ट्रिब्यूटरी ऑफ रिवर गंगा या डिस्ट्रीब्यूटरी? डिस्ट्रीब्यूटरी. इट इज अ डिस्ट्रीब्यूटरी ऑफ रिवर गंगा. ये आपके टेस्ट में भी पूछा था, पुराने टेस्ट पेपर्स रिवाइज करो. डिस्ट्रीब्यूटरी ऑफ रिवर गंगा. नेक्स्ट, high tides through their tidal bore, high tides through their tidal bore help in removing the sediments, and thus help in desilting. Silt is deposition of silt, very fine sediments. Desilting is removal of sediments. Thus help in desilting. क्या सबसे बड़ा प्रॉब्लम है कोलकाता पोर्ट का? सिल्टेशन. रिवर गंगा इज ब्रिंगिंग लार्ज अमाउंट ऑफ सेडिमेंट्स एंड इट इज डिपॉजिटेड. वो बार बार निकालना पड़ता है, बिकॉज यू हैव टू रिमेंबर, इफ वन पार्ट ऑफ शिप और ओशन वेसल इज बीइंग विजिबल टू अस, 9 पार्ट्स आर बिलो. सिंपल लॉ ऑफ फ्लोटेशन. सो वो फंस जाती है इन द डेल्टाज, इसलिए ईस्टर्न कोस्ट आर नॉट नेचुरल हार्बर्स. अंडरस्टैंडिंग? थर्ड, इन सेकंड इंपॉर्टेंस, ऑन एनवायरमेंट एंड इकोलॉजी. टाइड्स, पहला इंपॉर्टेंस, टाइड्स हेल्प इन removing polluted waters from the estuaries and deltas. पानी मिक्स हो गया समंदर का, so concentration कम हो गया pollution का. Understanding this? Polluted waters from estuaries and deltas. Next sub point, tidal ecosystem. क्या होगा, saline या brackish? Is a brackish water ecosystem, which supports aquaculture of highly valued species, such as prawns, lobsters, shrimps. Supports aquaculture, valued, money wise, valued species such as prawns, lobsters, etc. Prawns, lobsters, etc. ये सब brackish water के, not saline water also. Getting it? Third, वो छोटा वाला होता है. लॉबस्टर ज़्यादा इम्पॉर्टेंट, बट नेचुरली ब्रैकिश वाटर. सी में कोस्टल रीजन के बाद पहले ब्लैकिश होता है, फिर सलाइन होता है. नेक्स्ट, उसी में, इन द रिसेंट ईयर्स, ड्यू टू unregulated coastal development, the intensity and the height of waters increase during high tides, causing urban flooding. Most coastal cities of India are facing this problem during southwest monsoon. Facing this problem during southwest monsoon. 2018 में दो एग्जाम्पल है, मुंबई फ्लड्स एंड केरला फ्लड्स during the southwest monsoon. Mumbai floods and Kerala floods. Getting this? So environment ecology just don't go by books. Books में एक ही दिया है, desilting. You have to think beyond the books कि क्या क्या हो सकता है when the water comes inside. Okay? मैं वही लिखा रहा हूँ. Second, due to increase in the sea level associated with global warming, tidal waters are entering inland regions. Tidal waters are entering the inland regions, destroying the coastal ecosystem. And further increasing the global warming. Example, mangroves in Sundarbans are facing threat. ज़्यादा saline water आ रहा है, mangroves can survive in brackish water. Mangroves in Sundarbans are facing threat. I will explain you that. Therefore, Conservation International, ये एग्जाम में जरूर लिखना. Conservation International in association with IUCN and UNESCO, has launched, ये सब current affairs है, has launched Blue Carbon Initiative. Have you heard about this initiative? Have you heard about the blue carbon bond? Yes, blue bond. So, blue carbon initiative. What is this blue carbon initiative? We'll write it separately. But yaad rakhna, who does it? Conservation International. What is Conservation International? An NGO. Second, IUCN. What is IUCN? An NGO. Again an NGO. The world's oldest NGO in the recent period. इससे पुराना सिर्फ बॉम्बे नेचुरल हिस्ट्री सोसाइटी है. And third, UNESCO. It is a specialized body of United Nations. Understanding? Conservation International और एक बहुत important काम करता है जो आप हमेशा पढ़ के जाते हो. It declares World Biodiversity Hotspots. Western Ghat, Northeast India. Conservation International. IUCN और एक important काम करता है. It publishes Red Data Book or Red List. Next, economic importance. Tides help determine the fishing patterns. By bringing the resources or our nutrients, from deep oceans, tides, waves and ocean currents, तीनों, tides, waves and ocean currents. tides, waves and ocean currents. Help the coastal ecosystem to flourish, help the coastal ecosystem to flourish, giving food and nutritional security, giving food and nutritional security, along with economic security to the agricultural sector, along with economic security to the agricultural sector. Full stop. Therefore, to double the farmer's income, Government of India has stressed, upon the success of नील क्रांति मिशन. ऐसे लिंक करो पेपर्स को. गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया हैज स्ट्रेस्ड ऑन द सक्सेस ऑफ नील क्रांति मिशन. ब्लू रिवोल्यूशन कांग्रेस का नाम है, मत यूज करना. सो इट इज द नील क्रांति मिशन. नील इज ब्लू, क्रांति इज रिवोल्यूशन. सो नील क्रांति मिशन. बट थोड़ा डिफरेंस है. ब्लू रिवोल्यूशन से ज्यादा impactful is the Neel Kranti mission. It is in a mission mode, pilot project. Understanding? So we will come to this while doing Indian geography. Next. They help tides help generate clean form of energy known as tidal energy. Clean form of energy known as tidal energy, which is very important, especially to an energy hungry country, as well as tropical nations such as India. Energy hungry as well as tropical nations such as India. Energy hungry क्यों? Our energy requirements are very high. Tropical nation क्यों? Because we will be first impacted by global warming. So this is a clean energy. याद रखना, this thing, it is using ammonia to manufacture some kind of energy. Technical details में I will not go. Example, a 3 megawatt tidal power project जो NCERT में दिया है. A 3 megawatt tidal power project is located in Durga Duani. Sundarbans, West Bengal. Durga Duani, Sundarbans, West Bengal. So that is all about the tides. Now, what do you understand by blue carbon? Which are the largest source of carbon? Which are the largest carbon sink? Are the oceans, and on the land it is the plants. Plants have captured the carbon from centuries and they have stored it in their trunks, in their branches. इसीलिए हम जब भी वुड को बर्न करते हैं, वी गेट अ सोर्स ऑफ एनर्जी. एनर्जी कार्बन के बिना आएगा नहीं. अंडरस्टैंडिंग? नाउ out of all the carbon that we are releasing in the atmosphere, marine, deep oceans pulls, absorbs some carbon and stores it. And coastal ecosystem, मतलब mangroves, algae, marshes, ये जो brackish वाला region है, it also captures some of an carbon and stores it. So this carbon which is stored in coastal ecosystem, including the deep seas, marine ecosystem totally, is what is known as an blue carbon. ये नया एक concept है, the blue carbon. That is the carbon that has been captured and stored by water as well as the water मतलब deep seas as well as the mangroves, marshes जो coastal ecosystem में है. The important thing what we have understood right now is blue carbon is much more in amount as compared to the terrestrial carbon. मतलब जितना carbon dioxide stored in the plants, उससे greater amount of carbon dioxide has been removed and stored by mangroves, by marshes and by the oceans. 30% of the carbon dioxide that we are releasing goes directly back into the sea. Remaining 20 to 25% is in the mangroves. So more than 55% of the carbon that has been removed, emitted and removed is in the form of a blue carbon. And nowadays, due to rise in the sea level and ocean acidification, first due to the rise in the sea level as well as development, we are destroying the mangroves, we are destroying the algae, we are destroying the coastal areas, and as a result of this, either due to pollution, this algae etc. are dying, and when anything dies, what they will release back? Carbon dioxide. And therefore, if we do not protect this coastal ecosystem, then there will be more global warming. इसलिए हमने लिखा है, that is there will be global warming because they will release back this carbon dioxide. Plants are the terrestrial carbon sink as well as terrestrial carbon source. They will release also the carbon dioxide, they will remove also the carbon dioxide. Getting it? And more importantly, to protect this coastal ecosystem, the three organizations have come together, and that is what is known as Blue Carbon Initiative. So just take the definition of a blue carbon. Blue carbon is the carbon that is stored, in the coastal ecosystem, including deep oceans, as well as mangroves, salt marshes, sea grasses and algae. Mangroves, salt marshes, sea grass and algae. देखो यहाँ से पहला प्रीलिम्स का क्वेश्चन, व्हाट आर द सोर्सेस ऑफ ब्लू कार्बन. 4 ऑप्शन देंगे एंड दे विल आस्क यू टू फाइंड आउट. हम वहाँ पे दिमाग लगाएंगे सॉल्ट में कैसे कार्बन स्टोर होगा, हम मार्क करेंगे मैनग्रोव्स, अलगी एंड. सो डोंट डू दिस मिस्टेक्स. एक एक पॉइंट आप प्रीलिम्स के हिसाब से करके जाना. 4 सोर्सेस है, डीप सी एज वेल एज दिस थिंग. Second question on the prelims can be blue carbon is found only in the water bodies. Wrong. It is also found on the land. Getting it? Next. This sources, this carbon, just a minute. This carbon is responsible for 50 to 70% of all carbon storage. Is responsible for 50 to 70% of all carbon storage, and therefore they are an important source of future carbon sequestration. They are an important source of future carbon sequestration. What do you mean by sequestration? Carbon sequestration means removal of carbon dioxide. Simple words में, carbon sequestration is removal of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. Carbon sequestration, comma, carbon sink, and carbon storage. And carbon storage. And carbon storage. With the increasing degradation of the coastal lands, with the increasing degradation of the coastal lands, around 9,80,000 hectares, around 9,80,000 hectares of coastal ecosystem is destroyed every year. 9,80,000 hectares of coastal ecosystem is destroyed every year. And therefore, they can become a significant source of greenhouse. They can become a significant source of greenhouse emissions. They can become a significant source of greenhouse emissions. Hence, greenhouse emissions. Hence, to conserve this coastal ecosystems, hence to conserve this coastal ecosystem, hence to conserve this coastal ecosystem, Conservation International, IUCN, an intergovernmental oceanographic commission, of UNESCO launched a blue carbon initiative, that focuses on restoration, underline the word restoration, and sustainable use of coastal and marine ecosystem. Next point. Currently, the focus is on mangroves, tidal marsh, not salt marsh. Tidal marsh मतलब intertidal zones, जहाँ पे कीचड़ होगा. Tidal marsh and sea grasses. Next. Tidal marsh is a region जहाँ mangroves मिलेंगे, but tidal marsh can be a run of Kutch, also can be a tidal marsh. So जहाँ पे mangroves नहीं मिल सकते. कोई भी marshy region caused due to high tides and low tides. Next point. The blue carbon initiative brings together, underline each and every words, कौन involved है इसमें. Governments, मतलब government of India can be, governments, comma, non-governmental organizations, comma, research institutions, comma, communities living in the coastal regions, to form a partnership, to form a partnership, to form a partnership for sound management of coastal and marine ecosystem, for the sound management of coastal and marine ecosystem, thus targeting goal 14 of sustainable development goals. Goal 14 of sustainable development goals. Goal 14 of sustainable development goals. Goal 14 याद कर लो कौन सा है? Fine. So goal 14 you will have to do. अब see how the questions can be. Blue Carbon Initiative is an initiative of United Nations Environment Program. ऐसे UPSC फंसाती है. हमें लगता है everything is related to United Nations Environment Program या UNFCCC. No, it is of the three important bodies. Second, under the Blue Carbon Initiative, the coastal ecosystems are to be sustainably managed and any development activities should be stopped. True or false? नहीं. It is sustainable manage as well as partnership. कि प्रॉपर करते जाओ, आप यूज करो, टूरिज्म करो, एक्सेट्रा कुछ भी करो, बट एट द सेम टाइम मेक श्योर दैट देयर इज अ सस्टेनेबल मैनेजमेंट. ऐसा ही एक पास्ट ईयर क्वेश्चन है कि इफ अ साइट बिकम्स अ रामसर साइट क्या होगा? टूरिज्म बंद होगा, इंडस्ट्रियल एक्टिविटीज बंद हो जाएगी आसपास, डंपिंग ऑफ पोल्यूशन बंद हो जाएगा, पोल्यूटेंट्स बंद हो जाएगा, नन ऑफ द अबव. आंसर इज नन ऑफ द अबव. हमें क्या लगता है? इंडस्ट्रियल एक्टिविटी बंद हो जाएगी, डंपिंग ऑफ पोल्यूटेंट्स बंद हो जाएगा. It is not, because this conventions are talking about sustainable but management, sustainable management, not banning anything. Sustainable means involving the people. Understanding this? So this is about the Blue Carbon Initiative. I am giving you one assignment. Find out about Blue Bond. Which country became the first country to? Seychelles. Seychelles became the first country to give blue bond. Blue bond. Fine with this? So what is this blue bond? Bond matlab kya? Anything that is given by government with a promissory note. So the bond is an way of raising money to fight the climate change. Blue bond kyun? Because Seychelles is an island nation. Fine with this? So with this we have finished with the oceanography, and in the next lecture we'll combine both the batches and start with Indian geography. तो जब जयेश सर का वहाँ खत्म होगा, ग्लेशियर लैंडफॉर्म का एक मैं क्लास ले लूँगा अलग से. Oh, sorry, waves. Take down waves. Take down waves. Indian geography. सिर्फ इंडिया बेस्ड. Tsunami disaster management. Rise and fall of ocean water. Rise and fall of ocean water due to the frictional force. Due to the frictional force of winds is known as waves. Is known as waves. Is known as waves. Now understand one thing. If this is the sea and if the wind is moving over the sea with a great force, kahan pe wind will be there with a great force? In the deep seas. So as a result of this, the wind will pull up the water particles. Fine? Unka height will increase, but the gravity will pull down the water particles, and thus the water will fall. Wind yahan pe jayegi, water will rise, water will fall, and as a result of this, the height of the water will increase, and this is what is known as the waves. Unlike tides, in waves water आगे या पीछे नहीं जाता, water just rises and falls at the same place. Whenever the water falls, it breaks and waves को foamy सफ़ेद कलर आ जाता है. If you have gone to sea beach, you must have seen कि waves को foamy सफ़ेद कलर आ जाता है because of different chemical composition as they start falling down. So what is waves? Waves is not the movement of water, but just rise and fall of water. It is more like an energy. If wind is blowing and due to friction, wind picks up, dragging effect, wind picks up a water particle, gravity does not allow it to go down. Wind यहाँ से आगे move की, picked up and moved down. Now waves are directly related to the wind speed, and therefore the largest of all the waves and the most dangerous of all the waves will be found in deep sea. Getting it? Unlike tsunamis, which are found near the coast, waves are found in the deep seas. Fine? So you can take down this. Waves पे हमेशा waves पे. Tides पे तो आपको 12 घंटे 23 मिनट रुकना पड़ेगा. So waves पे. इसलिए सी सर्फिंग उसी रीजन में की जाएगी जहाँ पे बहुत स्ट्रॉन्ग विंड्स है. नॉट इन द ईस्टर्न कोस्ट. हमारे इंडिया में मोस्टली वी कैन डू इट इन द वेस्टर्न कोस्ट. क्यों? विच विंड इज स्ट्रॉन्गर, नॉर्थ ईस्ट या साउथ वेस्ट? साउथ वेस्ट. नेक्स्ट, waves are actually the energy. Waves are actually the energy. I am giving you as it is what NCERT is writing. Waves are actually the energy and not the water which moves across the ocean surface. Not the water which moves across the ocean surface. And tide क्या है? Water which is moving. Getting it? In waves, water travels. In waves, water travels only in small circles, only in small circles due to friction, turbidity current हमेशा रहेगा, due to friction of wind and the gravitational force, So I am asking you, wave is a surface water phenomena or deep water phenomena? Again very logical. Winds will be affecting only the surface. Tsunami, पूरा deep sea, पूरा समंदर आपकी तरफ आएगा, पूरा समंदर पीछे चला जाएगा. That is tsunami. Waves is only the surface. That is the third point. Waves is just a surface water phenomena. Surface water phenomena. Surface water phenomena, seldom affecting, very rarely affecting the depth of, seldom, S-E-L-D-O-M, seldom affecting the bottom of oceans. Seldom affecting the bottom of oceans. As the wave approaches the coast, it slows down and breaks, forming white caps. उसको कहते हैं कैप क्योंकि बाहर होता है. Forming white caps. Next point, waves travel long distances. Understand one thing, if you are staying on the coast and if this is the water, there is one wave which is coming irregularly but with very high speed and with very high height, and there is another wave which is coming from far away distance at low speed, and यहाँ पे आते आते उसकी एनर्जी कम होती है और उसकी हाइट कंपैरेटिवली लेस है. सो कौन सी वेव इज बाय लोकल विंड, कौन सी वेव इज बाय परमानेंट विंड? दिस वेव इज बाय local wind. Understanding? क्योंकि local wind की intensity will be greater in the local areas. This wave which is coming from far away distance will be by permanent winds, and therefore आते आते wind has lost its energy. Wind travels with greater energy over the water because friction is less. So this is what you have to remember for prelims. Steady, long distance, full stop के बाद steady waves which come at slow speed are caused due to permanent winds and may have originated in other hemisphere. Understanding other hemisphere? Southwest monsoon जो winds आ रही है, they will bring the waves from southern Indian Ocean to the northern Indian Ocean. On other hand, steep waves are the ones that are formed by the local winds. Wave is an important form of energy and the total potential of wave and tidal energy दोनों एक साथ, total potential of wave and tidal energy is around 25 gigawatts in India, is around 25 gigawatts in India. Sorry, 53 gigawatts in India, is around 53 gigawatts in India. Which is around कितना है total percentage of renewable energy in India? कितना gigawatts? 175 या 150? 175, which is around 33%, of India's renewable energy potential. India has wave energy plants at Kanyakumari, and सबसे important विजहिंजम, NCERT, इंडिया ईयर बुक, गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया सबसे पहले नाम देते हैं विजहिंजम का. सो यू शुड रिमेंबर गल्फ ऑफ कच्छ टाइडल एनर्जी, विजहिंजम वेव एनर्जी. विजहिंजम नियर थिरुवनंतपुरम, इन थिरुवनंतपुरम केरला. अब एक लास्ट पॉइंट, हु लुक्स आफ्टर द डेवलपमेंट ऑफ वेव एनर्जी. बाकी का एनर्जी मैंने लिखवाया नहीं क्योंकि कौन देखेगा, कोल एनर्जी का वो जो मिनिस्ट्री है, थर्मल एनर्जी का एनटीपीसी. सो हु विल लुक आफ्टर द डेवलपमेंट ऑफ वेव एनर्जी इन इंडिया? मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ न्यू एंड रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी. अगर ऐसे होता तो मैं नहीं लिखा था. सो यू कैन टेक डाउन. तो मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ अर्थ साइंसेस, मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ अर्थ साइंसेस, Ministry of Earth Sciences oversees the development of wave energy in India. Oversees the development of wave energy in India along with NIOT. What is NIOT? National Institute of Ocean Technologies. National Institute of Ocean Technologies. कहाँ पे है? Chennai. NACOR is in Goa. NACOR is in Goa. National Institute of Ocean Technologies, Chennai. Chennai. Fine. So NIOT headquarters Chennai. NACOR we will come फिर से, and एक और बचा है हैदराबाद का. So these are the three institutes which are important from the India book potential viewpoint. Fine. So then we'll meet for the Indian geography class. So thank you very much. If Jayesh sir is taking history that day in that class, अगर उनको और एक class की ज़रूरत है तो I will take one more class in which I will cover the glacial landforms on Monday. If he is not taking, the first let us complete Indian geography, then we'll do the glacial landforms.